first, a different kind of music. That's Johann Sebastian Bach's Prelude in D from his first cello suite, but played here by classical guitarist Ben Bolt. And this weekend, he'll be teaching a master class here in Charlotte, as well as performing at Tate Hall on the campus of CPCC under the auspices of the Charlotte Guitar Society. And thanks to them, Ben Bolt joins us now. Welcome.
Pleasure to be here today, Mike.
You brought your own TV crew. I'm impressed. Most people don't come with their own TV crews.
Well, it's really not my idea. It's Steve Kahn's idea. And he's the president of the Classical Guitar Society, the Charlotte Guitar Society, and I've been having a great time.
You are, I went on your website yesterday, and you have a list of the concerts that you are playing and have played, and most of the ones that you have already played are listed as having been sold out. That's got to be pretty gratifying, huh?
It is gratifying. So much has to do with the promotion of the concert. And then certain areas of the world and cities I'm more familiar with, and more people know who I am there because I've played there before.
You're conducting a master class tomorrow, first, before your concert. And I'm just curious, what happens in a master class? First of all, who comes? Who would you like to have there? And what happens? What do you do?
There's serious students that come, and pretty much it's a private lesson, but other guitarists are available to eavesdrop in on the lesson. So instead of getting one lesson with me, if there's 4 people in the master class, then they would really get 4 lessons.
That's fairly intimidating, isn't it?
It can be. The Segovia class was frightening, let me tell you.
You were in on that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. But he liked your playing. He said it was remarkably clean or something like that.
Yes, he did. I was a kid. I was 19 back then. We're going back to 1973 in Madrid. And, Segovia, I mean, if you had an attitude like, hey, I'm going to teach you a lick or two, he would just let you have it, and I was kind of like, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir, which Segovia was really into that.
Probably a good move on your part. Let's go back to those years. You grew up about the same time I did in the 60s and 70s, and back then any kid who had a guitar wanted to be one of the Beatles or the Rolling Stones and wanted to play rock and roll. Although Andre Segovia was on Ed Sullivan and other shows like that, we kind of looked at him and went, that's nice, but let's play rock and roll. Let's rock out. What happened to you that attracted you to this style of playing?
Well, of course, I wanted to be a rock star too. I mean, that's how we grew up. And I had a band. And when I was...
And the long hair to go with it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. My hair was very long at that time. Yeah. How it happened was it came time to graduate from high school. And most of my friends, I'm from Miami, so most of my friends that continued on in music went into jazz. And I just didn't have the jazz temperament. I respect it, but it wasn't something that I felt I could sink my teeth into. And at that time, you could not study classical guitar in this country. It didn't exist. And that's when my dad offered me a trip to, either to go to the University of Tennessee, like my other 2 brothers, or all expense paid to go to Spain and see if I could make a go of it. So I took Spain, of course.
You said you didn't have the jazz temperament, but it seems to me that it is probably a lot, and this is completely out in left field and from an amateur point of view, but it seems to me be a lot difficult to do what you do, a lot more difficult to do what you do, because you have to be so technically proficient. You really can't fudge it. You can't hit a wrong note and slide into the right note and make it sound jazzy. It has to be accurate.
That's true.
So what kind of a temperament does it take to be you and do what you do?
Well, during the band days, I was the serious musician of the band. And so, somebody wouldn't, the drummer wouldn't make it because he had a girlfriend problem, So, I wanted to make music my life, and so I decided to become a soloist. I didn't know who Segovia was, and I was a senior in high school. Not until I found a teacher that taught classical. And as soon as I heard it, I knew that was me. That's what I wanted to do.
But you went to Spain. Did you go to Spain at 17 in the hopes of studying with Segovia, or just to study with somebody else, or just to immerse yourself in music that was played more often there than here?
At first, I studied with Jose Luis Rodrigo, and later he became Segovia's assistant. He had studied with Segovia, and he was in the hierarchy of the Segovia school, and he taught at the Madrid Conservatory. So I started out with him, and then I bumped into Segovia at the U.S. Embassy when I was registering for the draft. of all places. And that's how I met Segovia, and he helped me and arranged lessons and scholarships.
I read a story about that meeting that I believe your brother wrote.
That's correct.
He was sent there he was dispatched there by your father to make sure, because your father was a World War II veteran, to make sure that you would register for the draft on your 18th birthday. So he was there to make sure that happened, and he's the one that spotted Segovia at the embassy because Segovia was getting ready for an American tour, correct?
That's correct.
He was there to get his visa.
That's
and
correct.
when he pointed him out to you, he says, you literally slid across the floor on your knees like
I probably
like he
did.
was God.
Well, everything went into slow motion. All I remember is all of a sudden I was talking to this dream, and it was Segovia. And at first my brother said, "Hey, bro, that's Segovia over there." And I looked at it and I said, "Steve's my brother." And I said, "Oh, come on, Steve. That's not Segovia." Because every Spanish man, has, the hat and the cane and the soup stains on his front shirt, all this sort of thing. And I said, "That's not him." He says, "No, that's the guy on your strings." Your string, because, I used Augustine strings at the time. And it had a picture of Segovia. He said, "No, that's the guy." He says, "I'm going to go over and ask him." Mm-hmm. So he said, "That's when it happened, Maestro."
Yeah.
And he said, "Yes, he was." So.
And it took 2 years after that for you to get the lesson.
Correct.
Uh-huh. Let me hear you brought your guitar, and not many people do this, and we're very grateful that you have brought it because we have recordings ready to play, but,
Sure.
I'd much rather hear you play live. What would you like to do?
I'm going to play Lagrima, and it's on my 1976 Flauta guitar, and it's a world-renowned luthier that is now deceased, but it's a wonderful instrument, and it's what I'll be playing in concert.
Okay. The guitar is what you'll be playing.
Yes,
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. Guitarist Ben Bolt, who will be at CPCC over the weekend at Tate Hall, which I believe is in I'm not sure where Tate Hall is, quite honestly, but you can find it on the master grid at the CPCC. In concert at 7:30 as part of the Charlotte Guitar Society's concert series. You can find more information about that at charlotteguitarsociety.com.